Any speakers on the motion? Seeing none, I'm going to call on the proposer of the next motion, motion number 4, Dublin Council, name Dublin Council Trade Unions. Mick, I know you understand the traffic light system, and my God, you must have went through a red light, did you?
I have never, President, been disobedient in my life. I have to say to the delegates that I'm very uplifted at the warmth of the amount of delegates who come over and expressed sympathy with me over my broken arm. And I have to say that it's a great improvement, because 20 years ago I came to this conference with a broken arm. And one of the delegates said to me as I walked in the door, "It's a pity it wasn't your tongue." So I hope nobody repeats that. The motion that the Trades Council has down is about a concept called political realignment. And political realignment is something that rarely happens. It happened in Ireland twice in the 20th century. It happened in the great broad shift from the Parliamentary Party to Sinn Féin in 1918. It happened in the huge sweep that went to Eamon de Valera in 1932. And both of those things have been about the national question and also about social justice. And the Irish people on both occasions moved decisively for both. Now, we have a situation that realignment also took place in Britain after the First World War. But realignment does not fall from the sky, nor does it come from prayer. Realignment comes from hard work and politics. And if we want to wake up after the next election, or perhaps the election after that, and listen to a news bulletin that says Ireland is not going to be ruled by a government of either Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael, I want to believe that the trade union movement has a role in bringing that situation about and changing the world. Because realignment requires us to commit ourselves to that objective, not supporting governments led by Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael. Of course, we can't tell the electorate what to do, and whatever the outcome of an election, we must deal with the elected government. That's a given. But we can influence events. We can try and bring about realignment and dialogue. And that's why I'm very glad that many of the trade unions here are involved in the water charge campaign. And the water charge campaign has the support of most of the trade unionists in the 26 counties, and indeed in the 6 counties as well. In fact, they have won it in the 6 counties. And it's a small symbolism of what can be done when you get involved in politics. But the water charges are, in my opinion, simply a message from ordinary people that they have had enough. And the reason people are revolting, over the water charges is because they can. And any weapon that comes to hand that they can use, they will use it, and they are correct, and we should be with them on that, and we are with them on that, and that's important. The question of political realignment requires the Congress executive to get involved in nudging all the parties of the left to work together. That means convincing Social Democrats, left Republicans, Trotskyites, communists, or whatever, to talk and to have dialogue, and to put at the heart of any programme trade union principles and values, and to work to bring that about. And it also means this: sometimes we are going to have to face the fact that to get there, we may at times have to have an even more right-wing government than the one we have now. Because one of the consequences of bringing about realignment on the left will be bringing it about on the right. And we have to face that fact. It's not a pleasant fact, but we have to face it. And there will be consequences for that, for the people we represent, and they may suffer in a temporary sense as a result of that. But it will be worthwhile if we can put together, as an answer to the difficulties that we have, not just the question of we passed a motion on industrial democracy. We want good and better services. We want greater taxation and fairness at the heart of society. And guess what we done? We wrote a letter to the minister and told him what our policy was. That's not good enough. That's not good enough. It hasn't worked. It won't work. And if this motion is passed, I hope that everybody gets involved in the discussion to bring about realignment in Ireland, and to look forward to the day that we hear on the news that Ireland has the first left-wing government in the 20th century, and it's going to stand up for workers, it's going to stand up and change the order of things, and it's going to stand with the trade union movement. That will not fall from the sky. It has to be fought for, and you are the only people that can do that. I move the motion.
Thank you, Michael. Is there a seconder for the motion, Dublin Council of Trade Unions? Seconder? Is it formally seconded? The motion formally seconded? Seconded. Formally seconded. Any speakers to the motion? They're for your Terry, the bells are for you.
They're for me, yeah. Terry Kelleher from the CPSU supporting the motion. Our opposition to neoliberalism, Thatcherism, verbally is unrivaled. We're actually on the ground, and particularly since 2008, the reality is that our strategy and tactics are less clear. Outsourcing, privatisation, zero-hour contracts, austerity are gaining ground massively at a quickening pace. There is a serious war on the working class and the people of the world, which we don't have to be convinced of. And not only are we losing it, we're being slaughtered. Through these struggles, however, and burdens, people are becoming active and also seeing the hypocrisy of the capitalist system, which burdens the working class in Ireland with 30 billion euros worth of austerity, while the top 300 richest people in Ireland increased their wealth by 34 billion. The water charges struggle, the glorious movement that we've experienced, well, some of us have experienced, have demonstrated the resources outside the trade union movement and within our ranks of the working class. The potential for struggle, the potential to stand up hard against austerity. The challenge not only the myths of the market, the political system, but everything. Because people do not have any choice. The illusions of the Celtic Tiger politics, which demoralised activists, how it gathered pace in people and young people, it's shattered now. Neoliberalism has no roots now in the working class in Europe. It's been shattered by the crisis, by the reality of capitalism. People are looking beyond Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael and the Labour Party. All the polls are indicated on this island that people inside and outside our ranks are looking for another alternative. The trade union movement have a responsibility to facilitate that. We need a new political vehicle that has been manifested in other countries like Greece and Spain and Portugal. We have to live up to our responsibility and create such a thing that the right to water unions are campaigning for. To do anything else, in my opinion, is a denial of your responsibilities to the working class in Ireland. But such an organisation needs to be democratic, needs to involve all genuine forces. It needs to be based on class unity. So we need to have the debate. The people are advocating Sinn Féin to be involved in that. What's the repercussions for the trade union movement in the north? That we in the south advocate such a thing. These have to be teased out in reality. Also, they have to have a record on anti-austerity. There's no way Labour Party should be involved in such a discussion, in my opinion. It has no record whatsoever in opposing. Quite the opposite. There is, people are looking, in the last two by-elections in Dublin, people look beyond this. The last point I have to make is also we need to look at Sinn Féin's role in Stormont in relation to anti-austerity. These may be hard questions, but to build something new and genuine, they need to be raised, we need to debate them, and we need to get them answered. Thank you.
Thanks, Terry. Any further speakers? Just your name and organisation, please.
Padraig Mulholland, speaking on behalf of NIPSA, to give qualified support to the motion. President, comrades, first of all, can I congratulate the Dublin Trades Council for bringing this motion forward, because it is clearly an issue that needs to be debated out by our movement. We have to accept some of the realities of where we are today. 5 to 6 years on from the beginning of the crisis, and by the way, not our crisis, not our recession, it is their crisis and their recession, but 5 or 6 years on, we have paid a terrible price in jobs, in destruction of education, in destruction of the health service, and in destruction of the future for young people. That price continues to be paid, and part of the reality is we are faced with a Tory government re-elected in Westminster. We are faced with a Tory government in Stormont, and we are faced with a Tory government in Dáil Éireann. All three are implementing austerity day after day, hammering the working class and hammering our members. And if we are going to build a movement that can resist those attacks, if we are going to build a movement that really can change society, we need to begin a very serious debate from this conference today, and the Dublin Trades Council motion takes us a step in that direction. We need to build a movement that is militant and is prepared to use its industrial arm. We need to build as well a political movement, but that political movement must have some characteristics if it is going to move forward successfully. First of all, it needs to be a political alliance of those who are opposed to austerity. But when we say opposed to austerity, it has to mean more than conference speeches. It has to be opposition to austerity in real terms as well, in the implementation of policy. You cannot oppose austerity from a conference platform, but then implement job cuts and cuts in education and cuts in the health service in the name of the Thatcher government or in the name of a Fine Gael government. Comrades, we need to build a political movement that does take account of the sensitivities of Northern Ireland. And let us be clear, we cannot build a unified progressive left movement that is either green or orange. A progressive left movement cannot be based on sectarian division. It has to stand against sectarian division, and it has to build something different and build something that is a real alternative. Comrades, we should not be building a movement based on green and orange. We should build it based on the colour of this movement, and that is red. I think this motion takes us forward. This motion does take us forward. It is a welcome opportunity to open up a real discussion and to build our movement into the future. Please support the motion.
The mover of the motion has asked for a right to reply, so Michael, again. Thanks, Padraig.
I'll be brief. I just want to make the point that Sinn Féin are in government in Northern Ireland. But Northern Ireland doesn't really have a government. It has an administration. That's different to the level of choices that the government has in the Republic. And it's a different situation, and I think it's for the Northern Ireland Committee to tease out the implications of our motion and how it will apply in the unique circumstances of Northern Ireland. But in relation to building unity of the left in the Republic, it's quite clear to me what the components are. And one of the delegates said that we shouldn't allow the Labour Party to participate in it because of what they're doing in government. I wish they would participate in it and leave government and join us on the left. I'm not opposed to the Labour Party, and I don't regard the Labour Party as necessarily and always to be there just to prop up Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. I think it has a different future, but we can't demand it to do that. It has to find that way itself. But if it begins to find that way, it should get a big welcome from people in this movement. And we shouldn't be worried about, a situation where we have a diverse rainbow of opposition to austerity. We should welcome the wider, the bigger, the deeper, and the more diverse the rainbow, the better chance we have of winning. So I would say I would welcome environmentalists into this movement who are green. I would welcome Republicans into it who talk about the whole question of equality and make them that apply to economics. I would welcome Social Democrats. I would welcome Trotskyites. I would welcome Marxists. I would welcome reformists, people who believe in Keynes, people who believe in change, people who believe in a different Ireland, and let's have that debate. But let's, before we even start it, not be excluding people on the basis that they might be Republicans or they're not pure red, whatever that might be, or any of that such stuff. Sectarianism, doesn't just exist in Northern Ireland. You can have sectarianism in your politics with the narrowness of your outlook. But I don't want, and the Dublin Council of Trade Unions doesn't want, a broad-based anti-austerity movement to exclude anybody. All those who join with us in the struggle are welcome to have and to help us shape it.